All right. Hey Tess, how's it going?
It's going good. How are y'all doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're ready for
Good.
today.
Yeah, excited for the summer.
Amen. I'm ready.
I love your puppy too.
Ah, thanks. Yeah, good old Bean.
Hmm.
She always likes to be a part of Zooms. And then we also have Caliban here today.
Oh, hey.
So
All
I'm
right.
here just as like support. If you
Okay.
guys need anything, I got your back.
Thanks, Tess. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen then. We'll
Sounds good.
do.
You guys have any fun plans for the summer?
Heading out to Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston on Saturday or Sunday, actually. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, it should be good.
I'm doing a lot of planning for the fall semester, but I'm going to go to Mexico in the end of July to just go see my family. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What about you?
That sounds like fun. Not too much. I might hit the beach once or twice, but otherwise just, still working around the house.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I like seeing your updates on Facebook there, Tess. It looks like you're making a lot of progress on that place.
Man, I'm telling you. I don't know how many more stumps I got in me. I think I have 8 more that need to come out of the ground, but some of them are pretty big.
I would be like, okay, I'm gonna carve them out and make them like a candle holder, and then they're done.
Right. I'm there. I'm like, okay, how do I make it so it stops growing?
Yeah.
But then also looks like it's a part of the landscaping.
Totally get that.
Hey, Ev.
Nick, I don't know if you noticed, but I realized we have to admit people because they're in the
Yep.
waiting room. So just so you know, okay, I'm just going to do it. But while you're presenting, if people come in, I'll do it. So you don't have to worry about it.
Vice versa. Yep, I'll do vice versa too.
Okay.
Hey, Kathleen, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Give everybody a minute or so to get in here, and then we'll get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We do have an icebreaker, so we're gonna do that. And if anybody joins us, then that's totally fine. Just to get us started, we are the Office of Student Engagement, Casey and I, and we're going to be talking about creating community among student staff. I am Nick Christie. I'm the Associate Director for Programming and Student Center Facilities. Casey, if you want to do an introduction.
Hi, everyone. Casey Gonzalez, Assistant Director for Leadership Education.
Thank you so much for joining us, especially 9 a.m. The first session of the day. We really appreciate that. We hope you enjoy this presentation and get something out so you can utilize that with your own student staff. So to get us started, we are going to do a question wheel. Icebreakers can be great. You know, everybody hates that word icebreaker, but a really good one can really galvanize a group and get everybody kind of warmed up and able to interact with one another. I've seen some icebreakers that start the conversation and it just keeps on going. And this is one that we found within our own staff that to be really helpful as we, get to know each other. And it's something that's super simple, but also can be super impactful depending on what you're asking in the questions. So we're going to use Picker Wheel. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. So Picker Wheel is completely free. And you're able to customize the questions that you want and also eliminate questions as you go through, which is kind of fun. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down the line and I'm going to ask each person a question here. So Kathleen, is it okay if we start with you? All right. So
Sure.
let's see here.
Ooh.
Who has been your Lehigh role model?
Oh boy. That's a tough one because there's so many. I mean, I'm going to say Arsenio. I know he's not
Aw.
here anymore, but he was Lehigh for me. And he was here after me. I mean, he came after me, but he was always, always there, always somebody people looked up to. And so he was one of them. I mean, I'm sure there's others too, but Dr. Odie,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say.
Nice. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. All right. So Ev, we're going to do you next. What is your best memory with a student?
Oh, there's been many memories, especially with students. I would probably have to say when two students were graduating, Zara and Diana, and they asked me to don them for donning of the Kente a few years back. It's a nice memory.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Jenna Rose.
It's a long spin.
Right.
Oh,
How many students work for you?
all right. I would say 13.
13?
That's the number.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lad ambassadors, those awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Tess, you're up. Which office do you like to collaborate most with?
Oof, that's a really good question. Outside of our centers, I really like to try to pull in LUAG as much as I can.
They do some
I
cool
think
stuff.
they're really, they do, they're so underutilized.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, Azalea. What is your favorite thing about working at Lehigh?
That's tough because there's a lot of different things. I feel like I guess working with like the Center for Gender Equity and Rita, I feel like I have a lot of work-life balance. So I really appreciate that.
I like that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
All right. Just for the sake of time, we're going to do one more. So who wants to volunteer between Alex, Steve, and Tyler?
Happy to participate.
All right, Alex, you're up. What would you like incoming students to know about your office?
Well, honestly, incoming first year students, just that we exist, because we're kind of hidden away up on the 3rd floor of Linderman here. But for people working for our office, I think just that they kind of have the flexibility to do whatever type of work that they want. We have students that literally just like stand in front of a scanner for 4 years and digitize material. And then we have students that do, curate their own exhibits, so they can really do kind of whatever they want if they just let me know and actually make their wants
awesome.
and desires known.
Yeah, y'all do some really cool stuff with that. All right, so thank y'all for participating. So basically with that, that's a great way to kind of get people interacting, kind of get people talking and kind of find those common interests that are super helpful. So let me go back to this here. Okay, hang on one second, let me share my screen. Okay. There we go. All right, so just a little bit about us, the Office of Student Engagement. Our mission is to engage the campus community with meaningful involvement and leadership opportunities. We envision a Lehigh where Lehigh students have found their own connection and belonging. You may see us in a variety of different areas, including at the Club Expo. We do oversee all of the Student Senate recognized clubs and orgs, as well as working with Student Senate directly. We do a lot of programming, and we do have our hands in some Lehigh After Dark stuff as well, and doing some leadership development and workshops and trainings throughout the campus community. We also are going to be, as a kind of a heads up, we're going to be combining with the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Affairs this summer. So we will be a new office called the Office of Student Involvement.
All right, so this is my part. By the way, for anyone who got joined a little bit late, my name is Casey Gonzalez. I'm the Assistant Director for Leadership Education, so I work under Nick Christie. And throughout this presentation, we'll touch on a few topics on how to build community. So I'm going to start off with talking about carving time out of for intentional student meetings. Important word, intentional. And you don't have to call it student meetings. Maybe like sometimes students get kind of scared with the word meetings. You could call it student gathering, student group time, something, hangout time, something like that. But as we all know, student staff meetings play a crucial role in fostering community building, collaborating with one another, exchanging ideas, and strengthens a sense of unity and belonging within Lehigh. And 4 main topics to kind of think about is 1, frequency. How often does it make sense for all of your students to meet, and what day, how long, taking into consideration classes, their time, any other like clubs or organizations they're in. Usually when I meet with my students for the spring semester, I met with them Friday from 2:30 to 4. Nick has other times as well. So just talking with the members of your group as well. Also take consideration of your goals. How often do you need to meet in order to meet your semester goals? So would that be once a week? Would that be bi-weekly? Would that be once a month? Some people meet once a month, and that's perfect too. Also consider if the group that you're meeting with is getting paid or not paid, because that makes a huge difference. You know, students, if they're getting paid to be at this meeting, they will more likely attend. If they're not getting paid, just be mindful that, you know, they might have other commitments to, you know, have another job, or just thinking about that. Doesn't mean you can't meet, just means less frequently. Next one is planning activities. So what's on your agenda? Are you allotting enough time for activities? So usually, you know, you get the business done, the announcements, anything that you need to get done as a group. And then make sure to carve some time for some team building activities, check-in questions, as Nick did a quick icebreaker. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, it could be every other week of your meeting time to carve some time for the team building. Also be transparent with students, share an agenda with the students prior to have them assure that what the goals of the meeting are, and also any accessibility issues as well. If you're doing like any activities that may require moving and you know, someone is in crutches, like there's time for them to let you know in advance. Also, food builds community. Me, Nick, at our office always feed students, and that always brings students like together. In a lot of cultures, that builds community. So just thinking about what budget you have for that as well. Another one is time of year. What is the overall mood and energy of your group on this particular day? So thinking about like common hour exams, final exams, what kind of activities are you planning during that time as well? I can share a quick example. When I met with students during the 2020 election, our meeting was planned like right the day after or something. And we just gave the option for students to come in and talk and like just have a fun activity. It wasn't required if students wanted to take their own time on their own, if they wanted to come in community, but we didn't do any like business or any important things like that. So just taking into consideration what type of mindset the students are in. And then lastly, tracking progress. How are you ensuring these meetings are intentional and worthwhile for students? What type of assessment methods are you incorporating? And Nick will talk more about this during the end of the presentation, so I won't go much about this, but it's important to know that your meetings are intentional and they're working for the type of students that you're working with. Okay, you can change the slide. So talking a little bit about like setting the tone before a meeting. Sometimes you have to meet with people at 9 a.m. in the morning, like we did with all of you. We did an icebreaker to kind of wake you up. I don't know how many cups of coffee you've had. I've only had a half, so definitely needed that icebreaker to start the conversation. So 4 ways that you can kind of like set the tone before the meeting. First one is prompt casual conversation. I think we usually do this as staff, but just talking about what's going on in pop culture, a TikTok trend that's been going on, or an event that's been going on at Lamberton. Usually students don't think that we know what's going on. Well, you know, they don't know what's going on like in the back end of TikTok, but if we keep updated a little bit, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know you knew about this. So it just like builds that trust between the staff and the students. Check-in, another way to build community, trying to remember things people have mentioned prior to weeks and checking in about them, like exams, job interviews, anything like that. Just that casual conversation goes a long way. Another one that I usually do more a lot is playing music, just playing popular songs to prompt conversations, or find another place to like energize a group. As soon as they walk into the meeting, as soon as they walk into the room, they just hear something like live. Also, like while you're doing activities, that I also like play music during that time as well. Another thing that I always often do, icebreaker and energizer, like we did in the beginning. Do they look that they're not too energized for the day? Is it 9 in the morning? Just do a quick icebreaker energizer. It's always good to have 1 or 2 in the back of your head. Icebreaker is usually just getting to know one another. Energizer is just to get them moving. I have compiled a list of icebreakers and energizers, which you can go to the link here at go.lehigh.edu/Lehigh icebreakers. I'm updating it like not frequently, but every time I have time, like in the summertime, I'll definitely update it more, but you'll see the table of contents, and if it's an energizer or icebreaker, how many students it works for, and then what type of, is it a trust building or a community building, or other options like that. And if you have any options to add, feel free to email to me and I can also add it as well. Okay. So just wanted to kind of give an example of a semester meeting outline that I did with students this past semester, and just a little bit background. They were getting paid for it, and we met on a bi-weekly basis, and it was a total of 8 students. And like I said, it was Fridays from 2:30 to 4. So for the first 2 weeks of the semester, we just got to know each other. We didn't talk about anything of the objectives of the whole meeting that we were, the semester meeting goals. It was just getting to know and just building that community and trust, because throughout the semester, they would have to discuss their opinions about student leadership on campus. And I needed them to build that trust within each other in order for them to provide their true opinions. On the 3rd week, I did an experimental activity to talk about the goals and objectives of the overall semester, which is student leadership on college campuses. I didn't do just discussion, I did an activity in order to get them moving, and also opening up a little bit about it. March 24th to April 21st was the bulk of like what my goals were for this project. And I did this through a presentation style with critical checking points. So of course it's presentation styles where they sit down, but I intentionally had slides where I asked them questions in order for them to think about, because, you know, these students have short attention spans. You need to get them listening somehow. And also before each meeting, I had an icebreaker or a fun like trips. We explored HST 3rd floor for one day because they didn't know where that was. So we just got them moving. And then, like I said, assessment is super important. So for the last meeting, we had a fun activity, vision boards. We had music, food, and a little focus group about how the semester went for them. And 8 out of the 8 students strongly agree that they built community with students. And it was just amazing to see that growth from like the first day of them not talking to each other. There were awkward silences. I didn't know how this was going to go, to the last day, them just like talking about like their goals, when they're going to hang out again. And it was just beautiful to see.
All
So,
right. So I'm going to transition over and talk a little bit about my student staff experience. I, in part, run Lamberton Hall along with my graduate assistant, where we currently have 30 staff members. Actually, a few graduated, so a little less than that. But you know, through that, we, you know, have a very strong sense of community and strong purpose to what we do, which is setting up for events and running our game room and making sure that the building is operational. So, you know, it's important for us to continue that strong sense of community. So one of the things that we do is try to provide opportunities for connection within the staff, because, you know, when we're hiring them, sometimes they know each other, sometimes they don't. And so it's important for us to kind of get everybody, you know, getting to know each other and connected and on the same page. So one of the things that we do is we do have the weekly staff meetings, but outside of that, we do have our staff retreats. So we do one each semester, and typically we center them around a goal or a theme. This year, the whole theme was community building. So really trying to focus on building those connections and doing things that allow students to get connected and step out of their comfort zone. And so for this retreat, this was one we did in the fall. It was our we went up to the ropes course, and we did a ropes course session and then had lunch in the tower room, which students had, some of those students have never been to. So providing that experience that was unique and something that they could, you know, talk amongst themselves and be able to share in that experience. So one thing I would say, if you're designing a staff retreat, make sure that you align your activities with your goal. We've done other retreats in the past where we've gone to like escape rooms when we want them to talk through like problem solving and working through times of conflict. We also, you know, in other ones we've done, you know, getting to know the campus community. So we've done like scavenger hunts around campus. We've done Iron Chef competitions as well, which is a lot of fun and kind of looks at that team building in a stressful situation. So really centering what you're doing around your goals for what you want them to accomplish. I would also suggest mixing up your staff members. It's inevitable, especially the larger the group, there's going to be cliques, there's going to be people that naturally gravitate towards one another. So breaking up those cliques is important, and trying to get people to interact with those that they don't necessarily get to interact with. We also provide informal opportunities to connect too. Like if I know that there's staff members that want to grab coffee, or that, they're there and they want to grab lunch or something like that, we'll give them, dining dollars or dining coupons in order to go do that. We also, encourage them to come out to campus events too. Sometimes I'll have staff members work campus events, and that's how they kind of get to know each other a little bit and get to be kind of acclimated to the campus community. And also providing incentives to do that. So like buying them the coffee, giving them the dining coupons is something that's really important there. Another thing that we've done in the past too is gamify connections. So one of the things that we had heard that our staff doesn't necessarily connect with pro staff. So our student staff doesn't connect with pro staff. So what we did is we created a pro staff bingo. And so they needed to go to certain staff members and get the sign off on that, and get to know them a little bit. So there's a connection there. And then if they ended up doing and completing the pro staff bingo, then they, I think we gave them a dining coupon of some sort, or of some sort of gift card, I think at that point in time. So, looking at that and providing those connections, that although there is that incentive, they're also getting that opportunity to connect, excuse me. It's also really important to build individual relationships. One of the things there, and that it's a picture from last year's graduation or commencement, but I seeing them walk across the stage at the during commencement is one of the best feelings in the world, and seeing them shine and thrive, and yeah, I mean it's those connections that you build along the way. And because Casey had mentioned earlier, getting to know them, having those check-ins, getting to know them on a personal level, knowing what, they're into, what their music taste is, what their movie, TV taste is, what their family is like, if they, have a support system, and if they don't, finding out what their support system looks like. I've had so many different conversations where, students come into my office and they're dealing with something in a hard day, and you don't get to that point where they feel comfortable walking in and just sitting down and talking until you build up that confidence and that trust. So it's really important to get to know them on a personal level and know what they're going through. If you know that they have an exam, or that they're dealing, they're putting together their capstone project, check in on it. If you have the chance, maybe even attending a presentation. I've done that a couple times for some students, and it really is cool to see, one, how incredibly talented they are, but also it gives you a basis of conversation that can be had in the future. What we also do is we schedule one-on-one check-ins regularly, usually at least once, if possible, twice a semester, just to make sure that students are doing okay, check in. And it's not just about the work that they're doing within the building. It's also, how our class is going, checking about, mental health and how they're handling, this new space on campus, and being able to navigate through losing space and navigate through any challenges that they may be facing. So it's important to do that. I've also had open office hours, so students can just drop in, have a conversation. Usually when I'm up in Lamberton, they're not afraid to just come in, just say hi, talk about what they're dealing with. And I think that is something that one of my favorite things. Like, it can be one of the most challenging things, especially depending on what they're dealing with. But it's also one of the most rewarding to have them come in and just open up to you. The one thing I'll also mention too is that by building those relationships, you're also able to identify students that need additional support, whether that's physical support or mental health, wellness and support. And using the student of concern form is something that I've had to do several times as well, and something that I strongly encourage you all to do too. And the reason I say that is too, because one of my student workers was lost at the beginning of the semester. And so we are very mindful of that as we move forward. But it's always good to identify and try to see those needs, and make sure that you're following up and getting them the support that they need to. So. Also, we try within our realm to make it more than just a work study job or a wage job. We try to create an experience that helps them connect to campus and prepare them for life after graduation. And so, looking at the skill sets that are needed, that are going to be super helpful, and also, get them to interact with one another and talk and work with people that are, that have different perspectives, that operate differently. And so what we've done in Lamberton is we've designed and we use a curriculum incorporated into the staff meetings, we incorporate it into the retreat, into projects, and into one-on-one conversations. And the curriculum is based off of a couple different things, and I'll just show you a quick glance of it here. So this was designed about 2 years ago. We are going to be updating it because of the new Blueprint foundations, which are going to be, being introduced as we speak. But we used a couple of different things. So first of all, we use the ACUI, which is the Association of College Unions International, which kind of oversees college unions, student centers, student activities, and their core competencies on how to operate a student union. We used those, incorporated those. We used the Lehigh leadership competencies, which were developed by the Lehigh Leadership Hub. We used the NACE career readiness competencies, which were basically they're from the National Association of Career Educators. I believe that's the acronym there. And basically they work with employers to determine which skills are necessary as students are entering the workforce. And so we incorporate those as well. And then of course our Blueprint Foundations, which is the Lehigh Student Life curriculum. And so from that, we developed 10 different competencies that we try to incorporate throughout the course of the year. And so typically we focus on, one of these per staff meeting, and then also try to incorporate them into the end of the year projects, which I'll talk about in a moment, as well as our staff retreats. We wanted to give them a good balance of practical skill sets and developmental skill sets. So under practical, we have them doing assessment and evaluation, managing and running events and understanding what that process is like, understanding what it takes to run a building and building maintenance and emergency management, things like that. Good communication, technology, innovation, sustainability, and planning and adaptability. On the developmental side, we want them to, understand that they do need to professionally grow and, create a path and create goals to set them up for success. Understanding leadership, community, and development, and active citizenship as well. So, understanding that this is your community and it only exists when you are able to step up and live this community and, help this community thrive. And what can you do when your community faces adversity and how do you advocate for them? Social justice as well. This was something that was very, very important to us to include. And how do we incorporate and create a socially just environment and community on the basis of anti-racist principles as well. And personal growth and understanding. So digging deeper into into yourself and understanding yourself a little bit better so you can come out, after you graduate into a person that understands themselves and is a well-rounded person. So these are incorporated, like I said, throughout the year, usually one per staff meeting. And we, focus, and we can focus on a variety of different topics that relate directly to this curriculum. So for example, with social justice, one meeting we focused on language, and especially language related to able and non-able-bodied persons. So, looking at those types of things, it doesn't necessarily have to be directly on the topic of facility, management or social justice. It can be something that's, directly related to that. So from that, one of the kind of culminating thing that we do is we have a spring semester project. And so they incorporate a lot of these competencies into that. So for the second half of the semester, the staff is broken up into committees led by our building managers. And our building managers are more of a higher tier leadership position within our staff, all student staff members. So committees are signed by staff members and they attend. Our meeting structure then changes. We do half the meeting is focused on our operation report, kind of the weekly updates. And then we also do a competency. And then the other half is spent within their committees. And they're tasked with planning an event for the semester. at the end, but they have to complete it by the end of the semester. And so they need to develop what that looks like. If there's a theme associated with it, they have to put a budget together. They have to do assessment with it. All of these things there have to be completed and or have to be included in a final presentation, which they give usually the last Sunday before the semester ends. And so really they're looking, they're kind of incorporating all of those curriculum pieces into this final project. And they have fun with it along the way. I mean, it allows them to be creative. It allows them to work with one another in a different way, and also see what it takes to plan an event and operate on Lehigh's campus as well. Assessment too, for this, our assessment for that project is the direct presentation at the end. We have a rubric that goes along with that, and we can assess from that. But, there's other ways that we assess during the course of the year. So we have staff complete an evaluation that directly relates to the competencies. So like we understand throughout the year how they relate to how they're getting the competencies in there. So are they understanding it? Do they feel like they're actually capturing some of those elements within their experience? We also do meeting assessments. So at the end of each meeting, we do an exit question. So we'll get that that relates to the topic directly. And then of course, the end of the year project and presentation as well. So that is all we have for now. I'm going to open it up if there's any questions from anybody. Yeah, Kathleen. Oh, you're on mute. Oh.
I'm sorry, I lost you and then I couldn't get it back to the screen. Anyway, I'm sorry. So my question is, I have a hard time getting people to show up for things. So like, do you have an expectation of like, there's a certain amount of events you have to attend? And if so, how do you manage that?
Yeah, for my staff, we allow them, they have a weekly meeting that they're mandated to attend. And so what we do is, because the staff is so large, we offer it 2 different times during the week. So we have one on Tuesday night and one on Wednesday night, which allows, they have to attend at least one. So it depends on their schedule. So that provides some flexibility. We allow them to miss 2 meetings per semester. And then if they don't, then we go into the disciplinary procedure, which is one is a warning. And then we go into creating a performance plan to kind of get them back up. And then ultimately, if they don't meet that, then we let them go.
What I did this past semester with my students is I gave them the option to tune in virtually. Like it does create a little bit of a chaos for us staff to like try to be accessible with the activities that we're doing. But for the meetings that I'm able to just have a laptop there in its presentation style, that worked really well. And if virtual wasn't an option for them, then I had a follow-up meeting with them to, I'll cover whatever they missed. And sometimes, students don't want to make up the meeting, and they're going to try to go more into like the meeting with the students rather than just a one-on-one with the staff member, because they know it's much more intentional with the student staff meeting. So just being flexible in that sense, and just say like, if you can't go to the meeting, you're going to have to make it up somehow.
Truthfully, I'll add too. I mean, we've had more, I would say more challenges this year with students not showing up or not communicating that they're not showing up. And so from those moments, we try to pull them aside and have like a one-on-one conversation and understand, okay, one, why didn't you show up? Because sometimes there's, reasons that are, pretty serious about why they didn't. So, we try to address those. And then also understand the impact of them not showing up. So like if for my group, if they're doing their committee projects, okay, you're not there to contribute to that committee project. And so, you're basically, your team is stepping up when you're not. So trying to kind of relate it to, their purpose within the team and try to kind of hold them accountable for those actions.
Before someone else asks a question, I'm just going to put a link in the, it didn't work, a link in the chat. If you want to usually me, we're hiring our GA and some students as well, training them. But if you want to schedule a leadership workshop, like a communication, active listening, empathy, or just a team building activity that you don't want to facilitate, but you want one of us to facilitate, we can come in during your scheduled time meeting, just fill out the request, and we can also adapt it to your student group. So for example, for international orientation leaders, I did one about managing discussions for first year students, and I adapted it to fit the first year students that they're targeting. So like students coming from another country and all of that. So I can work with you to create a workshop for your students, what best works for you. So I just wanted to put that in the chat.
Casey does an amazing job with that. So, any other questions?
Yeah, quick question. I think I know the answer to this, but just to be clear. So like for us, we have, you know, as we have our student workers, and then we've also got like the Hillel board. And obviously, like, you know, a lot of times the tricky part is, okay, you know, what do the student workers do? What does the board do? The board's not getting paid, the student workers are, and managing that, which is always can be tricky. But also in terms of like the training and things like that, that's available for student boards as well as for student staff, correct?
Yes, anyone in the Lehigh community.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, just want to make sure. Because I remember, Nick, you did something during COVID for the Hillel board, I remember. Because
Yep.
our board changes mid-year as opposed to in September, you know, online, which is, so, okay, just checking on that. Thanks.
Yep.
I wanted to comment on what you said earlier. I do see like the struggle between like those getting paid and those not getting paid. So just like maybe giving them like food during a meeting, or like maybe like small little prizes that could fit in your budget. Like maybe we can't pay you, but maybe we can fit in occasional snacks, occasional prizes or something like that to make it up. Yeah.
Another good thing to remind students too is there will be a time when they might want a letter of recommendation, and you want to be able to give them the best letter possible.
That's true. That's a good point.
Do you ever have the other students leading it? I know, Casey, your students had come to the Passport to Success, and it was very impressive. But do you have them like within your own student groups lead it sometimes, or do anything along those lines?
From my staff, yeah, we do have our managers sometimes lead our meetings. And so like they're able to kind of build those leadership skills and take that on. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, for the student leadership advisory team, not during the meetings, because that was more development for them, but I gave them opportunities to go out to facilitate. So Passport to Success, I don't know which time you went, but two of my students facilitated the second part because I couldn't go and they wanted that facilitation skills. So yes, there's opportunities outside as well.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much for attending. I think this is being recorded as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're right now currently at INOSE, so you can definitely do that. Or come up to the third floor Christmas Saucon and we'll be up here. So until the end of this week, and then we're going remote for a little bit. But
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks. Yeah, we really appreciate this.
yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
You. And
Thank you.
Tyler, I'm not sure.
Oh, just me. All
Just
right. I'll
See
be,
you later, Steve.
yeah, I'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye.